your story was really interesting. What stuck out for me was your example you gave me with the bad leadership example with the leader when you were younger who called you into your office and made you feel like crap.
Yeah.
And as you know, so I ran a company for 25 years and I focused on culture. And so I know what it takes in order to, give your team respect and make them feel good. Right. And
Yeah.
when there's leaders who do the opposite, it can really sear you. And so I'm wondering that experience, did that pretty much kick off your value system? Like, was that the catalyst that did it, that experience?
Yeah. And keep in mind, don't describe this, but like I was almost 17 years old at that time. So I was still a kid. I mean, like it wasn't like I was an adult in the workforce. And so it didn't. And just for the record, he's a good man. He's a very good man. His leadership just was not that great. His ability to drive good culture, I thought the world of the guy, but I do remember that in that moment, and it's a big glass window, and everybody could see what was going on, and I felt ridiculed, and um, I felt unappreciated. And no matter of all the hard work that I had done, I had quickly moved up in his company. It was the first real job that I had. I excelled at it. And I thought I was doing a great job, and one little instance was like everything turned on a dime. And for me, it was at that moment where I said to myself, if I ever am a boss, I will never talk to people this way. I'll never treat people this way because I
It's
remember deep down how it made me feel.
It's interesting because you can have, like you said, a good dude who just doesn't have that skill. And it's
Yeah.
incredible the impact that he can have or someone can have on somebody, regardless of being a good guy or not, right? And
Yeah.
and and it's just simple leadership skills. How long before you were actually a leader, like leading a team?
So this is weird. Shortly after that, and actually at that time, and this is kind of weird dynamic, but and that was it was during new construction. That was during my new construction phase. And so in new construction, you had crew leaders, and then you would have job site leaders. And so at that time, I was not a job site leader, but I was a crew leader. So me and my crew would go out and be under another, job site supervisor, if you would. And during that time, that was where the instance happened. And without getting in the weeds, basically the job site foreman ridiculed me in front of everyone as well. And he stuck his finger in my face and was shaking his finger in my face. And I just grabbed his finger and I just said, "Hey, that's not necessary." And that's what got me in trouble. And so that the owner of the company then proceeded to tell me, "You're not going to talk to my lead guy that way. You're not going to treat him that way." And I was like, he totally disrespected me. And so, I'm a young guy that is trying to earn respect of people. And so at that time I was a leader. I would go on and be a job site supervisor for them. And shortly after, I don't know, probably I stayed there for probably 3 or 4 years and kind of earned my stripes. But I say that everything happens for a reason, and that was a great stop in my career to teach me that I had a long ways to go, but I knew that wasn't the environment that I wanted to spend the rest of my career in. That
It's
just
interesting.
wasn't a professional environment. And I didn't even know that I wanted to be in a professional environment. I wanted to be in a team environment where people were appreciated, people were recognized for their hard work and what they do and their level of commitment.
So, what do you think is the hardest thing about being a leader?
Knowing that everything that I say and do can be under a microscope. And
Is
so everybody's not, no one is perfect, right? Nobody is perfect. And so we're going to make mistakes. The hardest thing about being a leader is not just about what you say, it's about what you do. And during times of adversity, sticking true to who you are.
and what's one of the biggest challenges that you've had to overcome as a leader?
Um,
Well, let me rephrase the question. What's the hardest thing you've ever experienced as a leader, and how did you overcome it?
Um, Gosh, I mean, this is crazy. My career has had a lot of ups and downs, a lot of them. And I've been very blessed and very fortunate to be put into some very unique situations. And probably one of the most challenging times is for me was a good learning moment. And I was torn between leadership and being a team member. I worked for an organization who changed our compensation plan, and I understood why they changed it. But the challenge was people that were top performers took a pay cut, and people that were low performers got a pay raise. And I was not happy about it. And they had, and you know, the team had encouraged me to step up and say something about it. And the owner of the, or the general manager at the time of the business said, it's very clear from now on, you fall in line with what I say, no matter if you agree with it or not. And then I'm going to go back in to say, what is the most valuable lesson I've ever learned is my job is to not make people fall in line. My job is to get people to want to fall in line.
So how do you do that?
Lead by example, treat people the way you want to be treated, transparency. And, you know, had if someone sat me down and said, hey, Chris, here's what's going to have to happen, but here's what we're going to do to kind of take care of that. You know, sometimes people, they don't understand, right? So they don't fully understand when you make decisions as leaders. And I say this all the time, even today. I say this as a parent to my kids. You're not going to agree with everything that I say and do. And I'm not asking you to agree with it. All I'm asking you to do is if there's a challenge with it and you don't feel like you can follow through and you can do those things, I'm just asking for you to come to me and talk to me so that you and I can have a good level set conversation and not carry any ill will toward me. Because for me, once again, transparency and relationships are it's the key to everything. Like good transparency leads to great communication, and great communication leads to not really having any secrets. And so when we're very open and transparent with people, they can see whether they agree with it or not.
How do you know where to bookend that where some things don't need to be said? So transparency is great. And it's great to be vulnerable as a leader, but then sometimes giving too much information or being too transparent can end up biting you in the ass.
Yeah, for sure. And it goes to what I try to do is put things into a way when I explain things to people in a way that they can understand, right? I try to make sure that they fully understand to give a perspective of no matter what's going on, no matter what I'm explaining and how I'm trying to articulate that, I want to make sure that they connect with it. And so, what does that mean? I'm not a big fan of, quote, withholding information, right? But sometimes information can't be digested. So you have to make sure that is this person ready and prepared to hear, what needs to be said or what needs to be done. And so, in my current role today, example, like we're not an open book company from a financial management, but we do talk about top line revenue and all of the categories that create that. So in a company meeting, I don't talk about all of our expenses, right? However, at the manager level, if you manage a direct department of that business, of our business example, if you run a part of the coaching and there's expenses that are tied to that, I want you to have full visibility to that. But everybody on the team doesn't need to see that. So it goes back to try to try to give people the information that they need based on where they're at with the organization, right? So you don't have to tell them everything, but you have to equip people with enough information that they can have confidence, because confidence is what allows people to follow, right? If I'm not confident in you as a leader, I'm not willing to follow you, but I know that I can trust you because you tell me what I need to hear. Not what I need to hear, but what, and when I say need to hear, you tell me everything that kind of applies to me. I don't need, if I'm working, an example at a restaurant and I'm a server and the food continues to come out bad, right? Like I, as the server, want to know what the hell's going on because you're making me look bad, right? Well, hey, we had three people call out and two people were like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Now I can cover for that. And what I've learned is that people are more understanding the more they understand.
Right. Right. How many people are on your team?
20.
And do they all report to you?
No, thank God for that. Directly, no. Directly, I have three direct reports in the organization. And
And what
then
would you say is the biggest challenge leading those three?
uh, I'm in a very unique situation. My wife is actually one of my direct reports. My wife is my operations director. And
Okay.
and so what that allows for me to do is to have good transparency with her in the business. So, you know, when when challenges arise with her because of our relationship, we're much easier to get through that. And challenges don't like, I mean, it's weird, but like we don't, our business runs fairly smooth. The majority of my leadership now, when faced with challenges, are challenges that the team member is facing in some other area of the business. And so now I act more of a guidance of a coach to them, if that makes sense. So my job is not to tell them what to do. My job is to point them in the right direction and allow them the autonomy to do what needs to be done.
Who is your target audience for your business?
Residential HVAC, plumbing, and electrical service-based companies in North America.
And how do you help them?
Interesting enough, so most contractors, I'm a contractor myself, and so most contractors do not have a high level of business acumen, but they're really, really good at the trades. And so because of that, they end up growing a business to a size where they don't necessarily know what to do at the next step. So they don't necessarily know how to market. They're not great at financials. They're not, they're not great at recruiting, but they're really good at the trade. And so what we do is we meet them where they're at, understand what their goals are, and then kind of and help them along the way through our we have a whole host of business tools and resources along with training, along with one-on-one dedicated coaches that help facilitate the things in their business that they need to know how to do.
And how do you guys get clients?
We go about getting clients through, we start, this industry is a very tight group of people, right? There's industry events, so we can go to industry events and network there. The more majority of my leads today come through social media. So
Okay.
we have a social media presence, and so our process is build the list, right? So build a list in our database, and the way that we build the list in our database is through social media, creating content that causes people to want to download lead magnets and so on and so forth. And then from there, we have a whole process of how we work leads as they come in the door. Then on the back end of that, we use email marketing, and then I've got an inside sales team.
And is this your company?
No, I'm not. I am the president of the organization for all intents and purposes. If you didn't know any better, yes, I would own the company, but no, the owner of the company has given me full autonomy to do whatever needs to be done. They're
And
they're they're basically semi-retired or retired, if you would call that.
so do you kind of clarify what the vision for the company, or is that already set?
So this is really interesting. So if you said vision of an organization, there's no details in the vision of which the owner has said. It's more about like 50,000 foot view of a vision. And so I'm able to take that along with our mission, our core values, and then shape the direction of the organization of where we're going and how we're going to make that happen. All that rests solely upon me. If you're familiar with the EOS, which is Entrepreneur Operating System. We do operate off of an EOS, and I am the visionary inside the organization. My wife is the integrator. So, yeah, I am the idea guy. I'm the vision guy that kind of sets forth where we're headed and where we're going.
Yeah, so I self-facilitated EOS in three of my companies.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, I spoke at the EOS conference in 2018 and got to share my experience because it literally changed my entire company. And it's an amazing system. And I help companies now run it who, have people that want to run it but don't know how, and they don't want to pay $6,000 to have some guy come in a few times a year to put them through the boot camp. So
We
I help
we
now.
actually did. We use an implementer, or I think they call I think a coach, or I'm not really sure what they do. But yeah, we do. We're in 6 months in on it, and it's allowed me to become more of me, and it's allowed
Yeah,
my team to become more of them.
it's amazing. It's an amazing system. I mean,
It
really,
is,
it
yeah.
changed. Yeah, it's really cool. Really cool. What has been the biggest challenge with that, with EOS for you?
We like to go fast. Like, don't do anything slow, right? So right out of the gate, it was like, well, we're going to do a little bit of this or a little bit of that. It, some of the terminology and things like that, like our mission statement example was the question, well, is this your passion? Is this your purpose, or is it your cause? And I was like, yes. So, and I tried to explain to Josh, I don't want this to sound bad, but like, don't try to put us into a box. Like, some things, like a big one is like scorecards for us. Having scorecards throughout the organization. There's some things that are not measured against a number, just based on the way that our day runs, and it's like some things that we were already measuring a lot of this stuff on a consistent basis, but like an example of this event only takes place once a month, but I want to measure what's going on, like attendees to a certain event. Well, it needs to be measured weekly. And I was like, well, it won't change by week. I'm just telling you, it's not going to change because we don't have the event, but I need to measure. It is a measurement of success. Uh, I have a saying that I often use here at the company, which is value plus engagement creates loyalty, which means if our clients feel value at every level of engagement that they have with us, whether it's reading an email, reading a text message, watching a video, using a tool, getting live one on one coaching, if that's valuable, they keep coming back. The moment that either it's not valuable or something else distracts me and takes my time away, I can't be engaged. Therefore, I won't be loyal to you. So that's kind of a summary of what we talk about. So we measure it when people show up to our stuff, right? Because that is a high, if you don't show up to the stuff, you're not engaged, and if you're not engaged, you don't stay.
Is your goal to continue to grow and scale your company?
It is. The goal is to continue to grow and scale. I'm a go fast kind of guy, but my team sometimes it scares the shit out of them to go too fast. And I don't want to do it messy where I have zero desire to, and the owner has given me, he's like, hey, if you ever want to sell, just let me know and we'll sell this thing and I'll take very good care of you. And I was like, I'm not interested in selling. And so because I'm not interested in selling, I don't have a number per se that we're trying to get to, that I communicate like it's got to be done by this date. But I do have a number in revenue that the plan is, and I know what'll happen when we hit that number. I'm aware of what opportunities it'll provide for team members as far as opportunity to move up and grow in the organization. So
How
we
many
are
people,
chasing a revenue number, but it's not like on a timeline.
how many people will you have to add to your team in order to like hit a number like that as you grow?
I'm rethinking what that looks like now with AI and automation. My guess is we're probably going to be, ideally, I wouldn't like to have much more than double what I have today. But, there's one of those things where I feel like I know what it looks like at this and know what people would be doing and know what that looks like. But I could be way off with the introduction to AI. I was just talking about this where my marketing team could quite possibly never need to grow another headcount because of automation with AI and the capabilities that we have. It's a matter of getting someone who is what I would consider to be an automated expert and have them in the business. And so, I've toyed with the idea of potentially hiring an automation expert, an AI expert to come and sit in the business for a week or so and tell us what we don't know and tell us what we're missing as we can grow scale. I'm not really interested in growing a ton of headcount. I'm interested in growing a good business.